working with what I've got at the moment. Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the replay of the Inner Child Healing Workshop. And hello to everyone who is just joining in. Got some more people coming in right now. Hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Just got my camera set up. I've got my ring light on today, so hopefully you'll be able to see me a bit better. And hopefully my camera station will stay upright because I've got both cameras. I'm streaming on Instagram and I'm also streaming on my YouTube channel right now. This is the Inner Child Healing Workshop. So it's going to be a live session of me talking about the inner child, how we can heal the inner child, and how we can move past the blockages that the stuff that's holding ourselves back, the emotional trauma that we're holding on to and the fear, how we can release and let it go to start manifesting what it is that we want, because it's the inner child, the emotional wounds that we're holding on to, the perspectives that our inner child still holds, the part that hasn't grown up is what prevents us from moving forward. Hi Vilma, thank you for tuning in, hope you're doing well. See you on the YouTube comments. And for those of you who don't know, on Instagram I also have a YouTube channel posting regular videos on there, as well as my content on Instagram, so streaming on YouTube as well. So with that being said, we'll begin. If anyone does have any questions about the inner child or anything that I am saying, please do pop them in the comments down below and I'll get back to them at the end. It's going to be questions related to the inner child. So what is the inner child? The inner child is that part of us that's situated like in the subconscious part of our mind. It's the part of us that remembers every experience that we have had, good and bad, and it always, because our subconscious mind remembers all experiences that we've had, but the subconscious mind remembers, more importantly, the things that have an emotional reaction, a very highly emotional charge. That's how we develop things like fears and phobias, and that's why things like that stand out more, because there's an emotional attachment to that. Also, at the same time, it's also why things that do feel good we remember as well, because there's a high emotional charge on the positive side. But they don't cause us problems. The problems happen when we've got anxiety, when we've got pain, when we've got guilt, we've got trauma, we've got hurt from experiences that happened primarily when we were younger and throughout our life that we can't seem to push past. And this is all part of the inner child, the younger part of us that hasn't been able to let go of all that trauma that we're holding on to. Because if we don't release and let go and process anything that happens to us on an emotional level, it still stores as energy. And what happens if we've experienced any kind of abuse, if we felt abandoned, if we don't feel good enough, or had any experiences where we've not been healed or we've not felt we've had the love that we needed, we remember that on that subconscious level. And if we don't heal, then the inner child that's reacting will start to take on traits. So, for example, if anyone has suffered with things like addiction or self-sabotaging behaviour or anxiety, these are all symptoms of the inner child wounds. In my EFT course, EFT, for those who aren't familiar, stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, where we tap on the meridian acupuncture pressure points on the body, very similar to acupuncture and acupressure. And we do this to unblock the energy in the meridian system, clear the emotional charge, and rewire our neural pathways. A very effective energy psychology therapy. When I was doing my training to become a qualified EFT practitioner, it said that addiction is a form of tranquilizer for anxiety. So there's a lot of self-sabotaging behaviours, addictions and unhealthy habit patterns that we take on. That's part of the wounds from the inner child. There is also the emotion that we hold on to and the beliefs that we start to form. Now, this is important for those who are very interested in manifesting, because what we believe, what we perceive to be true, is based on what we manifest, is based on what we believe and perceive to be true. And what we believe and perceive to be true is based on the thoughts and feelings that we have that make up these beliefs. So it's very important when we want to do any kind of manifestation work, for those who are familiar with the law of assumption, Neville Goddard, law of attraction, and everything like that, and affirmations, for them to work, we need to first of all see what our current beliefs are, what our current thoughts and feelings are, before we can know what to do to make a change. It's important to see what's not working first, because you need to know what to clear. So with the inner child, we want to get in touch with that part of ourselves, our inner child, that needs that healing. Once we can connect to the inner child and begin to heal, any emotional trauma, any anxiety, any issues of abandonment or not feeling good enough will dissolve if we can do one thing, and that's learn to love ourselves. Learn to love and accept ourselves. So many great teachers have said this. If anyone's familiar with Louise Hay, a wonderful pioneering teacher in the self-help field, her philosophy was that if we can truly love and accept ourselves, then all problems dissolve. Because if we love and accept ourselves, not on an egotistical level, but in a level that's in alignment with our highest and best, we come into alignment, and then everything begins to work for us. Whether you're wanting to manifest a new relationship, whether you're wanting to manifest more money or better health, if we love and accept and honor ourselves first, everything flows. So, how do we do this? First of all, if you want to begin to heal, you need to acknowledge that you have an inner child, first of all. A lot of us don't, some of us who have experienced dark night of the soul or who have done a lot of shadow work will be familiar with the inner child. But for those who are new to all of that, may not have heard of the concept of the inner child, or might not even know what it means. Or just because they've grown up and they're an adult, they don't think that any part of them exists that is still like a child. But it's true, there is. So first of all, you want to start to acknowledge that you have an inner child to connect to. Because even if you are not aware that you have an inner child, that part of you that is a child is still holding on to the trauma. Even if you're not aware of it, it very much exists. And that part of ourselves wants the love and acceptance from you. Because a lot of the times, what causes the problems for the inner child is a lack of love, a lack of security and belonging. The term, basically it's lack. The root cause of all suffering is the belief and concept of lack. That if I don't have what I feel that I need, then I'm going to suffer. There's going to be problems if I don't have what I need to survive. Either we have something and we're afraid to lose it because we'll lack it, or we're afraid that we'll never get something because we will lack it. So what you really want to be focusing on is connecting to your inner child and learning to love that part of yourself. Because if there has been situations in your life where you've not felt the love and approval of your parents, or you've not felt the love and approval of your relationship, or you've not had any kind of romantic relationship, or be it friendship or job, where you feel worthy and you feel that you don't feel that your worth has been acknowledged, this will be a reflection of how you are actually feeling about yourself. Because if we think on a manifestation level that everything is energy and frequency, and what we believe and perceive determines our reality. Because what we believe and perceive and what we feel determines the vibration we're putting out to the universe. And by the universal law, what we determine as our reality, we reflect back as experience. This includes how we feel about ourselves. So if we have a very negative self-image, then we will start to see experiences that reflect that negative self-image back to us. But if we have a positive self-image, if we love and accept ourselves, that's also going to be reflected back. So this is very important and very key, because if you feel that you've not had the love or the security or the fulfillment or the reassurance that you matter growing up from your parents or from whoever, and you have a low self-image, you don't love yourself, you're not confident about yourself, and you've taken your cues how other people have treated you, then you're going to start creating the same scenarios over again. If you've had a very poor relationship with one of your parents, for example, you may end up ironically manifesting a personal relationship that kind of reflects the same traits. Or you might go from one toxic relationship to the next, to the next, to the next, because there's a pattern of behavior. You're attracting the same thing. So it's important to start to love yourself first, and all of this comes down is to the inner child. So any kind of healing work always must include the inner child. And this is so important for those who are just really interested in manifestation. Sometimes some people are so focused on what they want to manifest, they bypass all of this because they think, oh no, I can't focus on the negative because if I focus on the negative, I'll manifest that. Or, you know, don't manifest that, it doesn't matter, I don't want to think about it, it gives it energy. But at the same time as they're thinking that, they're also not manifesting what they want. They're also manifesting the same problems over and over again. And that's because they are not acknowledging the parts of them that needs to heal. It's very important to focus on what areas of your life aren't working first to make a change. Otherwise, how can you manifest something different? We are always manifesting, first and foremost. So a lot of people say manifestation doesn't work or I can't manifest. That's actually an incorrect statement because we're manifesting all the time. What they're really meaning to say is that they are unable to seem to manifest what they want, how they want it, and at the right time. They're not consciously manifesting. They're actually manifesting things by default, by the patterns of behavior and the emotions that they're feeling. So it's very wise to actually look about the negative, shall we say, because it's not really negative, it's just the things that we're processing. So you can heal. In EFT, for example, the tapping, if you was to look up EFT online, you will find a lot of information of how you can use positive affirmations with tapping and how it can enhance your manifestation process. Yes, it can, because you are saying affirmative statements in EFT anyway, and as you tap on certain parts of the body, which is the meridians, you're working with your own energy. It can empower the affirmations, of course. But the founder of EFT, Gary Craig, his philosophy is to focus on what we would call the negative first, or primarily just the negative, because his philosophy says that if we are able to remove any energy imbalances, and energy imbalances will be classified as fear, old emotions and pain and trauma that we've experienced, and old negative habit patterns that are causing energy blockages within us. If we can clear that, naturally, our natural state of being, our energy, our physical body, our energy system will come to a natural state of balance. And when we are in a natural state of balance, we are naturally abundant, we are naturally happy and healthy. He does acknowledge that you can do positive affirmations with it, but you want to clear the negative first. Because if you want to get a new floor, let's say a nice kitchen floor, you want a nice, polished, shiny kitchen floor. If the kitchen floor is dirty from old past experiences, you're not going to get your polish out and buff it all up and make it nice and shiny with the dirt still there. You need to clear it away first so you can then shine it up and make it positive and everything like that. So don't be afraid, first of all, to acknowledge what suffering or what pain that you have. You're not going to create anything, because when you go through the healing process with the inner child, you are going through a process to heal, not to manifest. We have to look at what's caused us problems, because one of the biggest problems that in society we are programmed is suppress our emotions. Maybe you do this yourself, but how many people, if you do this yourself, or maybe you know other people that do this, how many people bottle up their emotions, bottle up their feelings, and don't acknowledge them, just bottle them up, and then when it gets too late and they suddenly explode or it comes out in other ways, when we suppress it doesn't go away. It'd be much better if we can acknowledge it there and then and let it go and not let it build up. Because any stored emotional imbalance, which is a type of stress, any type of stress that we hold on to causes so much damage to the physical body. This is the Energy imbalancement is what helps to cause disease, because everything is energy and frequency. So any ailments that we have has to start with some form of energy imbalance first. It has to, because everything is vibration and energy. The physical ailments and also the physical circumstances are just the manifestations, the symptoms of the energy imbalances. So you're more than likely to manifest something out of those feelings by suppressing them, because they're running around in your subconscious mind anyway. But if you bring awareness to them, that's when you're suddenly empowered. So first of all, don't be afraid to focus on the inner child and open up the can of worms. You're not going to manifest anything, because if you acknowledge, okay, I'm feeling this emotion, I'm feeling this anxiety, I'm feeling this trauma, I've got these memories of what happened, okay, what you want to do is just say, I'm aware of all of this. I'm aware of this anxiety, I'm aware of this grief, I'm aware of this situation, I'm aware of these feelings. But don't become it. Just witness it. What we're doing is we are acknowledging what we are carrying, because this is the thing. We are not sitting down to manifest trauma. We already have the trauma. We already have that energy in our energy system. That's contributing to the negative experiences that we're already manifesting, or that's contributing to blocking us from manifesting what we want in the first place. So don't be afraid of manifesting it. We're looking to clear it. And also don't forget, with all manifestation work, how often do you manifest every single thought just like that all of the time? You won't. You don't. You know, we have the ability to sometimes manifest just like that, but just like that all the time, compared to how many thoughts you have, we don't. There is, like what some people say, nature has selected it, or by universal law, there is a natural time delay before manifesting anything. There's like a safety net. Because how many times have you got really angry, or, you know, say if you're driving a car and someone cuts you up on the road, or you just do a reaction, or you might say something, or you might get upset and you say something out of anger or frustration, and then when you calm down, you instantly regret, oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. And you change. You know, we have the ability to change our mind as well. So going through a process of acknowledging the emotions that you're holding on to let them go is perfectly safe, because your intention is to let it all go and let it be free. Because the flip side of that, if you can just acknowledge yourself to allow these feelings and heal the inner child and heal all this emotional trauma, if you can let go of all of that first, you will then open yourself up to something more. Now you're in a position where you can start to create a new life, because the energy is shifting. The energy has shifted. So, with connecting to your inner child, some of the issues you will most certainly be familiar with, because obviously a lot of us have, if we've got some chronic issues, then we're familiar with what they are. But even if you're not familiar with what they are, a lot of people say to me they don't know where to begin. So I just say, well, first of all, look what's not working in your life first. So I work with clients on a one-to-one basis. Got a couple of coaching programs available. And the first thing that we look at is, what are the issues that you want to work on? What are the issues that have been preventing you from working on them in the first place? And what is your current belief system? What beliefs do you currently have that are holding you back and causing you trauma? And where do they begin? That's the place to start first, because we can then go through a process of healing ourselves, forgiving others, start to then use manifestation to our benefit, to heal, to connect with who we truly are, to let go of the past and free ourselves up from all those programs. Because the inner child is basically holding on to a set of emotions and programs that we have adopted. I say this quite a lot about the subconscious mind, because these are very interesting facts that not very many people know about, and it's kind of mind-blowing if you think about it. 95% of our behaviour is controlled by the subconscious mind. This means that you are only in conscious control of 5% of your behavior. Isn't that crazy? The subconscious mind controls 95% of our behavior because our subconscious mind, first of all, as I said, remembers all experiences that we've had, good or bad. It particularly focuses on anything that has a very high emotional charge. And based on the things that we have felt, good or bad, these determine what our core beliefs will be. Most certainly when we are very young, because the first 7 years of our life, that is the time when our core belief system, our core values are beginning to form, or have kind of been set in place. Because for the first 7 years of our lives, now this also includes at a certain stage when you're in the womb, so it's not just when you're born, this also includes when you're in the womb, so you're feeling what your mum's feeling and the environment around your mum when you're, in the womb. Those first 7 years, some say 6 years, but most, I think it's 7 years, we are in the brainwave state known as theta. Now, the theta brainwave state is the brainwave state just before we go to sleep. So it's the in-between stage, and it's also the brainwave state of hypnosis. And for those who are familiar with hypnosis, it's a way where you can bypass certain parts of the mind and go straight into the subconscious mind and reprogram. So basically, the mind, think of the brain and the mind as a supercomputer. It's actually so many times more powerful than an actual supercomputer anyway. But when we are born, obviously we manifest into this physical body and we have a subconscious mind, but it's a blank slate. Think of it as a brand new computer. And when you have a brand new computer, you have the hardware, the hard drive. You need to download programs on it to work and function. So in those first few years, we are in a constant download. So anything that you may have experienced directly, or anything you may have observed from your parents, from caregivers, from school or society around you, anything like that will be influencing your belief and how you grow up. So we are basically running on a set of programs and beliefs that aren't even our own. You could be holding on to core values, beliefs, fears, identities that aren't even yours. They could be from your own parents or from people around you or something that you just watch on TV. And this is the crazy thing. If you have picked up some beliefs, some habits, some traits from others that are not even your own, this would be to do with the trauma and the fear that they have carried, that they have not dealt with, and it's kind of like it's been passed on to you. So therefore your whole life could be influenced by something that's nothing to do with you, but we give our power away to it. And we are realizing that it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of the time we are wasting our energy on things that don't even belong to us. So much fear and trauma. And if we don't acknowledge how we're feeling on these things, there is that part of us, the inner child, that remembers and holds on to it and acts out and it wants to heal. But we suppress with alcohol, with drugs, or with multiple partners, or any other self-sabotaging behaviours as a form to tranquilize this fear and trauma. So now we are needing to step into that place where we can acknowledge this part of ourselves so that we can transform. So first of all, be open and acknowledge the fact that what you're holding on to may not even be your own. So start, if you've got very strict fears, very rigid ideas, start to begin to be open to the idea that, well, this isn't even mine in the first place, so why am I going to hold on to this? You might feel a bit of resistance letting go to begin with, because we do have resistance to change. Because even though we can hold on to fear, and we acknowledge that we are unhappy because we're holding on to fear and anxiety and it's causing us problems, because it's familiar, we would still rather that than sometimes the fear of the unknown. Because at least if we've got some problems and troubles, at least they're familiar to us and we know about them. But the fear of the unknown, oh, I don't know what to expect, that seems much more scarier. It's like, you choose the lesser of two evils. But, the point is we can have resistance to change, but if you're open to the idea that, well, what you're wanting to let go of isn't even in your own in the first place, let that loosen your rigid ideas up a bit. Because you're carrying out your life based on somebody else's story that's nothing to do with you. So acknowledging that's very key. The other thing that you'd want to do is, when you acknowledge the inner child, connect to that part of you. You can do this by looking at old photos of you when you were a little child. You can do this by reminiscing on things that you used to do as a little child. Anything that makes you feel like a little child. Get in touch with that part of yourself. Meditation's a wonderful way to do that. But acknowledge and just speak to your inner child. You can say, say, like, for me, if I was connecting to my inner child, call them by your name, like for me, it'll be little Danny. I'm here for you, little Danny. I'm here for you. What is it that you want to tell me? What is it that you're holding on to? Start to speak to that part of yourself, because you will get answers. That part of you, you will find that part of you, the inner child that's holding on, wants to be heard. It wants to move on and let go. It wants you, your adult self, to hear you. It wants your acknowledgement. Because we might look to parents for our security, but the only real security we can get is within ourselves. Because you could have the most wonderful people around you. You could have the most wonderful life circumstances around you. But you could easily have a belief, a thought, or a perspective, or a trauma, or some sort of feeling or perception up here that still causes you suffering and problems. So, no one person. People can help. Situations can help. Absolutely, of course. But they are not the answer. The answer is ourselves, connecting to ourselves, loving ourselves, being fully secure within ourselves. And our inner child knows this. We might be acting out, we didn't get the love and affection from our dad, from our mum, or our brothers and sisters were favoured more than us, or we were cheated on in a relationship, I was bullied at school, or whatever it is, toxic relationships, abusive relationships. And we're constantly looking for that validation, security outside of ourselves. We need to give it to ourselves first. Because if we love and accept ourselves, there's a certain level of confidence and empowerment that comes with that, where we don't take anything from anyone else that may be negative, where we don't need the security from someone else. There's no fear, there's no attachment, and you can enjoy life much more freely. So, starting to talk to that part of yourself, acknowledge that it exists, starting to ask your inner child, what is it that you want to tell me? What is it that we are holding on to? Your inner child and you. Your inner child and you are the adult self. And you as the adult self are telling your inner child that you are there for them. And then what happens when you start to communicate? Your inner child will begin to communicate to you through memories. So you'll start to have memories that may come up from certain experiences, from certain thought forms, emotions, feelings, fears, impressions. These are all sort of light bulb moments. Because this is still you. Your inner child is a part of you. You're just allowing yourself access to that part of yourself. And then you go through a process of, each process is going to be different for the individual. But you will end up going through, typically, through the experience that I've gone through the clients that I've worked with, it will eventually lead to a process of healing yourself, and then a process of forgiveness. You will find that you might find forgiveness as a key thing for you to focus on. Forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others. You might find you're holding on to a lot of resentment. These are all good. These are all parts of the process. Sometimes it can be quite, it's called dark night of the soul for a reason, or shadow work, because it can be quite challenging because we're going through the emotions, and the idea is to observe it and not become it. So this is why, in some cases, some people do prefer to work with a coach. So what I would say is, if this is something that you can do by yourself, just be aware that you may feel emotions, you may have some tears. Allow that. That's a good thing. But if sometimes you're struggling, or you may actually have so much trauma that you don't know how to deal with it, you may need some one-to-one coaching. And that's absolutely fine. But the part of that process is you have to acknowledge those emotions when they come up and observe them, not suppress them back down. Because the position of where you are right now is the result of suppression. So I do say this to clients when working with them, to just be mindful, especially when doing things like EFT. A lot of emotions can come up. It depends on what the issue is. Sometimes you might need to go at your more of a gentle pace, or sometimes some people bring it all on and the floodgates open, but it gets rid of it very, very quickly. And then as you start to heal, as you start to acknowledge this emotion and let it go, that's when the positive affirmations, there's other practices you can do as well, but for example, that's when the affirmations are more likely to take root. Because if you think that if you've got so much emotion and trauma that's stored and that's been in the way, they're going to block any new beliefs that you're wanting to put into your subconscious mind. If you've suddenly had a lot of resentment, a lot of emotional fear that you've held on to for such a long time, how can you take a belief, a strong belief, and the belief that is something that has strong feeling, how can you take something that says the complete opposite to something that's deep rooted with a lot of emotion? It will just be swallowed by it. So you need to clear it all out first, because then you've got fertile ground. Your mind is fertile to new seeds to be planted, new beliefs to be planted. And when you get a new belief, you get new feelings. And if the beliefs are positive and empowering, that's when you're in a position to really make your affirmations to start working. The manifestation process, like said in the law of attraction, the law of assumption, begins to really work, because then you aren't having any of those blockages in the way. So this is why I wanted to speak about the inner child, because it's very important for anyone who's wanting to do any manifestation work, and also not just that, to develop and connect to who they are, because it's where we start. Because if things aren't working in our lives, it's because there's some programs that we're holding on to. We need to see what the programs are, find the way that works best for us to clear them, so we can then be in the position to start manifesting the life that we want. So I do hope that this has helped. As I said earlier, I do offer coaching on a one-to-one basis. I've got two different types of coaching programs. One for those who can work with me, who would like to work with me on a long-term basis. So if you feel that you would like some guidance or some personal attention on how to begin to heal, to reprogram the subconscious mind, to let go of the emotional trauma and get yourself in that position to align with your higher self, you can absolutely have the option of working with me on a one-to-one basis. Or there's also an option where you can book a couple sessions with me, a couple of sessions where we can train you up on a couple of these techniques that you can try yourself. Because some people prefer to have that one-on-one attention long term. Some people like to have something that sets them up and they can try themselves. But regardless of what you might be interested in, I also do offer a free 20-minute discovery call anyway. So to talk about any of the issues that you feel would like to work on. So if any of this does resonate with you, you can book a free 20-minute call with me. The link can be found in my Instagram bio, and the link can also be found on my YouTube bio. I think it's also the pinned comment in my YouTube videos as well. And it will take you to a page where you can book a free 20-minute call with me. It will just select the date and time that's suitable for you. It will be suitable for me because of the date that's available. And we can book a call in and we can have a chat about the issues that you would like to work on. And if it feels like it resonates, we can work together. But for the time being, I'm able to take a few questions. If there's been some questions that have been asked, I will scroll through. I don't think any questions have been asked so far on YouTube. I've seen a few things come in on Instagram, so I'm going to scroll through some messages. But if anyone does have any questions about the inner child or what we've spoken about in this workshop today, please go ahead and let me know. Right. So, Spiritual Nomad says, thank you, you're most welcome. I hope this was very beneficial. This will be available on the replay. This will be available on YouTube and Instagram to rewatch. I've seen that question come up. So I'm just scrolling through some comments. I shall practice doing that during my meditation. Perfect. You know, starting to talk to your inner child is such a powerful thing that you can do. What was your trauma like? Have you already completely passed through it? And if you did, how did you make it through it? How do you face that part now? So a lot of my trauma has been related to anxiety. Anxiety seems to be what my theme is. That was the catalyst for my spiritual awakening. My spiritual awakening, I was always very, very sensitive, but the catalyst for me was anxiety brought on by the passing of my grandparents. My grandfather passed away, then 6 months later my grandmother did, and that was a bit of a shock. During the time, I was 15 at the time, and doing my GCSEs or like exams at school in the middle of adolescence, perfect time for anything like that to happen, right? When you're still discovering yourself and everything. And I had a bit of a breakdown. I had no confidence. I felt very insecure. I felt very different from everyone else, and I became a recluse for a long while. So from then on, that's when I started to explore alternatives, and my mum was very spiritual, and so I had that sort of background around me to sort of explore, and I started to learn about these things that really resonated with me. So it's been finding myself, building my confidence back up, and removing these negative images that I had of myself, and these fears and the trauma. And it's still an ongoing process. There's so much that I've learned from and mastered and cleared, but it's still an ongoing process because we are still clearing so many layers. You know, even a spiritual teacher has to practice what they preach to maintain their energy and their vibration, to maintain, you know, where they want to evolve. So we're all still growing. But the point is that you can get to a place where you shift your identity so much that you start to live more authentically, you start to live more in tune with who you are, and you start to want to give back and help others do the same. You're still on your own journey. I learn from my clients. My clients are learning from me, and I'm learning from my clients. We learn from everyone, so the learning process never stops. But there does come a point where the edge is taken off, if that makes sense. But then there's still things that can happen that can trigger, and it's just a case, okay, so you know, you feel like you've cleared enough of stuff and you feel very balanced, and then someone may say something may happen, and you're suddenly triggered, and that's okay, because oh, okay, that's something else to release, something else to now let go of. And it could just be that you get into alignment so much that even the slightest thing that no longer resonates with you causes a bit of an energy disruption, and you have to let that go. Because if you have the intention of always aligning with your higher self, you could be in alignment with your higher self right now and be in complete balance with everything. But you're constantly raising your vibration. So in a few days' time, for just a very simplistic example, in a few days' time, say like your vibration, you've continued to expand your consciousness, you continue to let go, and you're now living from your higher self, and you're manifesting these wonderful experiences, and you're growing spiritually, expanding your consciousness, that what was in alignment for you a few days ago may no longer be, even just very slightly, because you're getting so in tune with being in alignment with who you are. The slightest thing that's out of alignment might feel a bit like an emotional reaction to something, or you might feel less drawn to do something, or you might feel a bit of or unsettlement or something that comes up, and then you observe and you let it go. But it's very different from being in fear and anxiety all the time and running on that adrenaline and fearing the unknown. So that part's over, that I'm aware of, but we're constantly growing and evolving, and it's just a process. But if you can learn these techniques, you can find a way to sort of maintain your energy and your vibrational state, because it's, as well as raising your vibration, it's possible to lower your vibration, dips and lows. We can be very high, but then something can happen, we can dip. So it's very important to find, a bit like going to the gym, you want to maintain your physical fitness, you want to maintain your spiritual fitness too. Bonnie, hi Bonnie, just see your message on YouTube. I hope you're well. Uh, and hello Vikash, I can see you said hello Daddy as well. Hope you're doing well. Hi Redette, I can see you on Instagram. Great live. Oh, thank you very much. I hope this is helpful. Yes, this live will certainly be available on the replay. So I'm just going to scroll back down to see if there's any more questions. No recent questions. I'm just going to scroll up just to see if there's any more, because I did see a few come through. And that's another thing with healing the inner child. As I said, you want to let go of that resistance to doing that. And when you realize that a lot of the phobias, the emotions and the beliefs that you're holding on to are not even your own, but they're from programs from other people, that starts to loosen that resistance a bit when you realize that you're defining your life by somebody else's terms and not yours. Because if we hold on to the resistance, or if we are so we won't make any changes at all. I had this issue yesterday, scrolling through the comments on Instagram chat, it just takes it straight back to the bottom for some reason, so I'm just trying to see if there's some more questions. Could you later share a recording of the session? Your words interested me. Yes, this will be posted on Instagram and YouTube under the replay, so this should be available to rewatch. I'm afraid if there's any questions, I'm not able to access them because Instagram is just not letting me scroll up too far. So if you are still in the workshop and you have any questions, please do just pop them in the comments down again. I can stay on for another 5 minutes, so if anyone does have any questions about the inner child and how you can heal that part to start manifesting, then just let me know. No, I can't find the comments anymore, I'm afraid. So how long, here's a question, how long can the recovery process take? This can vary for each person. It will depend on a variety of things. So for example, how long you've been holding on to trauma and grief for, how many programs you've been holding on to. For example, if you're, the older you are, the more likely you're holding on to stuff. The younger you are, the less likely you are to holding on to stuff. But I mean, that can still fluctuate and vary. But if we are committed to truly healing ourselves, we can see results very quickly. However, it's very important to not put any sort of timestamp on the process, because that immediately puts pressure and an expectation of yourself. Whereas anyone who's done this kind of healing work will know that it is a process of layers. You know, like peeling back the layers of the onion, it's a very, common analogy, but it's incredibly true. You could do a lot of powerful healing work on yourself right now, and you could clear a lot of energies, shift a lot of energy programs, and think, yes, I've done it, I'm now completely healed. But then in a few days' time, you might suddenly feel triggered by something else, and you thought, oh, I thought I dealt with that. At that time, you dealt with enough. But then, as I said earlier, you are raising your vibration all the time. If the more inner work you're doing on yourself, the more you will raise your vibration. And as you raise your vibration, think of it this way. Say your vibration is vibrating like this. This is a very simplistic example. Say your vibration is vibrating like this now. And this is a result of a mix of good emotions, but also negative emotions and trauma. Say you do a lot of clearing and your vibration suddenly rises a bit. Now you're starting to resonate at a higher frequency. And anything that was a lower frequency down here no longer resonates with you here. So this is the stuff that you want to now clear. Let's say you've cleared all of this and you're now back at this frequency. But as you keep working on yourself and healing yourself and loving yourself, your vibration is naturally going to lift more and more and more. But as your vibration lifts more and more and more, it will become obvious what you're holding on to that no longer resonates at that high vibration, if that makes sense. So in other words, think of it this way. If you keep raising your vibration, expanding your consciousness and healing and getting more empowered, you will start to come up against the things that you're holding on to that no longer resonates. Another example, say at the moment you're in a very low place, you've reacted, lots of knee-jerk reactions from fear and everything like that, and you've got yourself into a relationship with someone who matches those sort of behaviors and frequencies. And you're in a relationship with this person. But let's say that you're starting to heal and work on yourself. It's possible to outgrow that particular relationship because you attracted this relationship based on being so enveloped by your fear and trauma. That was the vibration you put out, and that's the relationship you manifested. Someone who matched that, someone who has their own trauma. So it's not an ideal relationship anyway. But let's say you begin to break away and you start to heal and you start to get more at peace with who your true self is, and you start to outgrow that relationship. You'll find that this relationship's no longer compatible because you're no longer at that same level. You've risen above it. Sometimes when we do that, the other person rises with us. But sometimes we grow apart. So let's say you had a dip and you attracted things in your life based on this vibration. You start to heal and you start to get more happy and peaceful. You start to raise your vibration. You start to notice the things in your life that no longer match that happy vibration, including this relationship. Now you don't resonate with this person. Now there's problems because this person is still down here and you're up here. That's how you break away from that relationship. But this concept is the same with anything, with any beliefs, with any emotions, with any habits, any situations or any people in your life. So you can't never put a timestamp on how long is my recovery going to take, because immediately you're going to put pressure on yourself, you're immediately going to put resistance, and you're going to block it from happening. The process varies. We always are healing and growing and evolving. We're always growing. So not think of the timestamp, just keep working on yourself, but as soon as you do some work, you'll see the healing benefits straight away. But it was an ongoing process. So just think of it as constantly raising your vibration and always being aligned with who you are and what's for your highest and best. And anything that doesn't resonate will begin to break away. Right, I can stay online for a couple more minutes to see if anyone else has any questions. Thank you, Dan. You're most welcome. I will be doing another live stream over the weekend. I'm not sure what that will be on yet. It might just be a Q&A session, but I will post details of that nearer the time. Great, thank you. Oh, you're most welcome. Hope that was helpful. I'll just give a couple more moments if anyone has any more questions about the inner child. I will create a YouTube video shortly as well for an inner child meditation, and that's been requested a bit. So I will post that, create that and post that very shortly. How do we snap out of low vibrations and triggers that brings out a reaction, then a response on daily dealing with people? How do we snap out? So some of it is absolutely habit. So it's becoming very aware of your feeling state, first of all. So if we're talking about raising our vibration, we're wanting to be in alignment with our higher self and our highest and best. So what we want to first of all start to get in the habit of doing is checking in with ourselves to see, does something feel good or does something feel bad? If something feels bad, then that's our own inbuilt guidance system saying that this is wrong or it just doesn't resonate from our highest and best and our higher selves. So the important thing is to be always mindful of your state of being. If someone around you triggers these reactions from us, lower vibrational experiences, for example, and we start to react, be in the habit of acknowledging what you're feeling, first of all. If you are feeling irritated, angry, frustration, or triggered, just start to tell yourself, okay, something here isn't resonating from my highest and best. There's something here within me that's been triggered that I need to look at and heal. So one thing that you can do is every time you feel the emotion, not suppress it, because think of it as a pressure cooker. The more you suppress, the more pressure we get. We want to first of all acknowledge the feeling that we have so it doesn't build up. What we want to do in the moment is just, if you're in the moment and you've been triggered, is just start to say, I'm aware. So if it's anxiety or fear or anger, I'm aware of this anger. I'm aware of this fear. I'm aware of this. Because by saying the words, I'm aware of this, you start to disidentify with that feeling. Just know that there's a program or something in you that's been triggered by whatever's happened. Because there's something in you, whether it's some form of trauma or insecurity that's been triggered by it. There has to be something in you to be triggered by someone. I spoke about this once on a live stream of how to protect ourselves from negative energy. One of the best things that we can do, or probably the main thing that we can do to protect ourselves from negative energy or influence of other low vibrations, is to do this healing work. Because if you are around someone who's done something or said something or has a vibration that triggers you in some way, if you are completely at peace, you won't be reacting. But if you've got some strong beliefs, some emotion, some trauma, some very rigid ideas or anything about a particular thing, and someone says the wrong thing or does the wrong thing, it's because it's striking a chord with something that's out of balance within you. So, because think of it this way, if you are very at peace with things, if someone said or done something, you'd look at them and just, you'd either pay it no attention, you either wouldn't acknowledge it because the vibration would be so low and yours is so high, it might not even be encountering your awareness, or you will be able to help them. You wouldn't be triggered. So to snap out of the low vibrational triggers, first of all, is when you are triggered, just be aware of it, don't suppress it, and just acknowledge that your own guidance system is reacting to this because there's something in you that needs to be cleared yourself, not the other person. And also, as a general maintenance, keep working on clearing yourself, because the more that you can clear yourself, the less likely you're going to be reacting to someone anyway. And if you want to protect yourself from lower vibrations, just have your vibration as high as you can have it. And don't worry, no one will drain your energy because you'll be empowered. Lower vibrational beings and people can only feed on other lower vibrational energy. Remember, everything has to have a frequency match. If your vibration is high, you will match with higher vibrations. If your vibration is that much higher, and you encounter someone who's a lower vibration, as I said, one of a few things can happen. You can either help that person or being at no expense of your own, or you won't be triggered, you'll just forget about it, ignore it, or it won't even be in your reality. They can't match to your vibration because you're too high. So chances are you wouldn't resonate with that anyway. But if you're actually reacting to something, just be aware of what it is that you're feeling, more importantly. Because why am I reacting to this? There obviously is something within me that's triggered a reaction. And then when we feel the emotion in the heat of the moment, just say, okay, I'm aware of this. To start to disidentify with you as the emotion. Because when we make those knee-jerk reactions, we don't think. We just act. Because we embody those very primitive emotions and feelings, and we don't act consciously. We act out of those feelings, and that's how problems can happen and situations like that. So I hope that helps. And with that, I'm going to sign off now. So thank you everyone for tuning in. This was the Inner Child Healing Workshop. This will be posted on the replay on Instagram and on YouTube to look at whenever you're ready. And as I said, I do work with clients on a one-to-one basis. So if you are looking for some guidance on how you can heal the emotions or trauma from your past, how you can reprogram your subconscious mind to get yourself in that place to start manifesting more success, abundance, and being aligned with your higher self, I do have a special offer available on both my coaching programs, and I do have a free 20-minute discovery call option available, which anyone can book. You can click the link in my Instagram bio, or the link can also be found in my YouTube bio to book in a date and time where you can have a chat with me about what you're struggling with. We can put together a plan of how we could help you, and if you feel that it's a good fit and it resonates, we can begin the coaching program together. I will also be doing another live stream over the weekend. I'll post details on that nearer the time, and I will post a inner child healing meditation on my YouTube very soon, so that you can go through the process of the inner child healing process. Ready underscore Gary underscore Anemi. I have a big problem. Can you solve it? Book a discovery call with me. If you have some issues that you want to work on, potentially like some guidance, book the discovery call. And then we have a chance to talk in private about the issues that you're working on that you would need some guidance on, and we can go from there. Okay, everyone, but thank you so much for tuning in, and wherever you are in the world, hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, and evening, and I'll see you in the next workshop. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.